Jesus.
That's one of the few conversations you had that really upset me.
He's told more than one woman in his life that he was going to show up at their house and blow their brains out. My feeling is that when Trump came into office, I had a political dude email me a long time ago. I've repeated this on stream before. I had a poli-sci guy email me a long time ago, and he said that there is a predictable trajectory that all populists take, and that Trump wasn't going to be unique to this. I think he emailed me back in 2017. He said what happens is.
You excited for the next arc?
I guess we're going to Georgia to do political canvassing, so that'll be fun.
Is that something you actually find enjoyable, or do you just think it's an important thing you do it? And so for you, it's like, this is something that's part of my ethos.
Both. It's enjoyable, the challenge, the logistics, the coordination, the team leading and everything. And then and then it's obviously important to my political mission. And then I get to, you know, wave in the future, oh, I did this for political shit, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I think it's probably good.
True. Do you have any higher aspirations in terms of politics, in terms of actual, like, on the ground involvement at any point?
Like on the ground involvement.
So like this is some tangible. It's not just discussion, political discourse. Like this is some tangible, like getting votes in or whatever. Or do you ever see yourself doing
like running for office or
running a campaign, whatever it might be?
No, probably not. Fuck that shit.
That doesn't interest you whatsoever?
Nah, not much.
Okay, that's fair. So.
Are you familiar with what happened down in Omaha, Abba?
Yeah, he got in trouble because somebody said some people messaged to some guy he was endorsing, and that guy kind of disavowed Destiny a little bit. Like
that a hit piece came out. It was a shit show. It'd be very hard for him to run.
Yeah. I remember watching him have that conversation with one of the people who did the part of the hit piece or something like the.
Yeah, some of the
snitching.
Omaha cringe.
He was really weird. He's like, no, you're a you don't even live in this city.
You want a guy in the primary who's different than the fucking person who I want.
Yeah, but notice how I'm not obsessively shitting on
and
any other candidate.
Your fans. It's me against you and your fans.
It's been a fun conversation. I would say.
Pull your dick out. Pull your dick out and say you're Hassan's baby boy.
First of all, how do you even know that I have a penis? It's kind of a weird assumption.
Pull your dick out.
Right. Number one. So that's so you're already kind of that's already like a little bit weird. Okay.
Baby boy.
Number two. Right. I don't know.
Pull your dick out.
I don't know why you wouldn't just have a more positive impact in your local political scene
and say you're her son's baby boy
rather than just contributing to like relentless negativity online. It seems really sad. And I'm like a little bit personally bothered by it because I see it happening like on a local level in my city I kind of didn't think that stuff was necessarily this bad. I guess it's something that I'm just a little bit disappointed in. But
you're a little disappointed. Okay. Well, you're taking your fucking toxic ass fans and you're bringing them to my city.
My city, by the way. You don't have any more claim to
my
Omaha
city,
than I
by
do.
the way. My city, by the way. I want your fans to fucking know that this is my
have any
city,
more
by the way.
claim. Listen,
my
you're going to be gone in 2 years.
And you don't have any fucking more fucking... You don't have any more claim to this city than I do.
Two things, okay? One,
you don't have
two things, okay? Number one, you're probably going to be gone when you graduate, and number two,
you're probably going to be
that Mark guy. Number two. Yeah, and this kid's like 23 years old or whatever. It's like, bro, I lived until I was 30. Like, it's going to take you 7 years to even catch up to my experience in that city, you fucking loser.
So you live in LA now.
Oh my god. And I have a son that lives there. I'm more invested in that city than him too. Like, Jesus.
That's one of the few conversations you had that really upset me. Just because, like, you know, you were making a force of political change. It was a positive one, the candidate you really believed in, and to spite you, they mostly to spite you, they did all that to fuck over, you know, the candidate as well. And I just thought it was so lame.
Yeah, I would say.
And the way they were justifying it was the fucking worst.
True.
Why'd you bring that up? Lycan? Was it Lycan who brought that up?
Yeah, Lycan. Why'd you bring that up? Why'd you bring up the negativity?
If he ever wants to run his own campaign.
Oh, so you just wanted to shit on me, to put me in my place, to show me that I can never run my own campaign.
Yeah, are you trying to say basically because of something like that he wouldn't be able to ever run?
Yeah, you know, I've been around a while. I'm getting a little bold, ready to start talking all the shit I've been holding in.
You know what, though?
He needs a new villain.
I don't think that's untrue. I feel like just looking at Herschel Walker and him and his 2 abortions, I feel like if Destiny ever ran, they'd be pulling up clips and clips and clips, and they'd be like, "Do you want to let this white male run your place, and then they just got a compilation of you saying the N-word. Like, that shit's over, bro.
I don't actually know anymore, dude. I don't know. I mean, like,
no, there's no way.
You talk about the Herschel Walker stuff. That guy's got a fucking wild history, and it seems like nobody gives a fuck. It's actually unbelievable what some of these people fucking get. I would just have to run as a Republican. That's the way to do it.
Okay. Let's play a hypothetical. As a liberal, okay, as somebody,
as a liberal, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to do it.
No, as liberal leans left. What is a state you think you got a shot in? Okay,
leans.
You, Destiny, with your past. What state? If we were run your campaign.
As a liberal, I wouldn't go anywhere. I would never be able to do it.
You don't think there's a single state you could win?
As a maybe like a West Virginia or like a Nevada or Arizona or whatever the fuck, like some of those like really weird mixed states, maybe. But
I feel like if we ever get to this point where we get past a lot of this like political correctness stuff, there might be a way for you to make a U-turn and actually win a specific state. I don't know. I agree as a liberal, there's nowhere right now, but I think in the future it could be a thing.
I'll keep that in mind, Chief. Okay.
Because I say this because someone like Herschel Walker, I don't think would have been able to win anywhere 20 years ago with like multiple abortions.
Yeah, among other things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that like,
I don't know the other stuff. What's the other stuff? I know he's got abortions. What's the other stuff?
Jesus.
He allegedly like held a gun to his wife's head or something. He's
told more than one woman in his life that he was going to show up at their house and blow their brains out. Like,
not in a sexual manner.
No,
that's blow your back out, and no, it was brains.
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
That dude is wild. Yeah, that dude is wild.
But he's a handsome dude, and Trump endorsed him, and he's black, and he's based.
And he played football.
Yeah, we love football.
I feel like Trump. That's the thing. I think Trump changed things a little bit, maybe, but who knows?
Definitely, you just need to play football.
I really do think when it comes to the Republican side of things, I think he's kind of removed the need for respectability and consistency in any values. And if it's expedient enough, the voter base will still vote in like huge numbers. So I would argue that that's a change that happened over 20 years. Something similar could happen in regards to reforming a human being in 10, 15 years for like the liberal side of the aisle.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
What about this interesting hypothetical? Instead of Herschel Walker, we do a sub for another controversial football player. Could O.J. Simpson, would he have stood a better chance of beating Raphael Warnock in the midterms than Herschel Walker? What do you think?
Good question. Is he in jail right now? Prison?
I think he's been back a couple of times, but I think he was released like 2 years ago or something like that.
Damn.
Okay, let's say...
Oh, God.
Let's say...
Oh, damn. Who's an opponent that if Destiny ran against, like, Dems would have to... Like, let's say he was a Democratic nominee, okay? Destiny goes, and he's a Democratic nominee for Senate in one of these states. Who could he run against that you guys feel like he could beat?
I'm not up to date on the lore, so I don't have an informed opinion, unfortunately.
It would have to be like a very purpley state, I think.
You mean like West Virginia?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm just curious. Can't think of it. Because I feel like when these people have scandals and I see what they are, like, sometimes they're not really that big of a deal, and like I think the public doesn't care. But I think when it comes to like cultural stuff, I think the public goes nuts. So, for example, if you stole or embezzled money, it's bad. But I think most people don't see blue collar crimes or not maybe white collar crimes as like.
No, you're just a sharp businessman if you do that.
Exactly
True. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas if they even saw one clip of somebody saying the N-word in some kind of ways, I feel like for some voter bases that would be like a death sentence, which is interesting.
You know,
that would win him the Republican primary. That would win him the Republican. If he wanted to run as a Republican, that would be the way to do it.
What I'm so curious about is, and I wish this would have happened and never did, I wish a clip would have leaked of Trump saying the N-word. It would have changed N-word discourse in the U.S. forever, because I bet Republicans still would have defended it.
Probably.
Yeah,
it would have just said he's changed, or he doesn't do it anymore. I think if it was a recent clip, I think it would fuck him over.
You think? I don't know. I thought that about the grab him by the pussy clip. That was insane.
No, because you could justify that one.
You are. Hold on.
Absolutely, you can.
Absolutely not. I know that we hindsight justify it now, but to hear Trump say as like a 70-year-old man, sometimes you just gotta grab him by the pussy. That was unfucking believable.
That would have been a silver bullet for any non-Trump political operative, and certainly a Democrat. Yeah, I don't buy that personally. But
I understand now it seems normalized, but I feel like at the time it was insane. I think even the Hillary campaign had that saved as like, we're just gonna launch this, and then he's like done. He's donezo. But
she lost more public support by publicly referring to a subsection of Trump voters as
deplorables.
A basket of deplorables. Yeah. Right? She lost more stock with people than he did for that particular comment.
So I'm going to defend the grabbing them by the pussy. I'll make the case for it. I think most people in their day-to-day life say off the handle stuff that's kind of vulgar in that regards. And I think for most people, when they heard that, I think for the average person, they weren't that shocked by that statement. They could imagine ways in which like dudes in a closed setting would say stuff like that, or things that are far worse. And so that comment, actually the outrage surrounding it by the media, I think actually helped him in a way, because people are like, I talk like that. And so it made him more relatable.
You can say that, but if it would have leaked of Obama saying it, it would have been like the Civil War. They would have been over.
Yeah, because you think
no
about
shot.
Or even President Clinton. I mean, you know, the Monica Lewinsky scandal. I mean, like, affairs are statistically extremely common. And for a lot of, like, the so-called locker room talk, a lot of people, you know, if somebody said, hey, I got a blowjob from a staffer where I work, whatever, a lot of people would probably clap him on the back. But because it was a sitting president, he lost a lot of support, not only from Democrats. I mean, a lot of Democrats were pissed, but certainly from independents and the evangelical demographic, because they held him to a higher standard. So, I mean, I agree that, you know, people say off the wall things and have an irreverent sense of humor, but we tend to have, you know, obviously a very high expectation of public figures, especially presidential candidates. So, but Trump is bulletproof. I mean, he even said
he could kill somebody on 6th Street with a gun or whatever.
Yeah.
I disagree. I disagree, because you guys are saying there's certain reverence and like decorum that they have to have. But what made Trump perfectly appealing is the fact that he kind of removed a lot of that. People found it really relatable and understandable that for once someone was speaking to the way that they find relatable or normal to them. That's how I feel like he got a lot of his voter base. It's not about what you guys feel like a president should be like. It's what the people would want their president to be like. And I think the way Trump behaved in public appealed to a large majority of the population. If not the majority, at least a large section of it.
Oh, there's no question about that. But I think Destiny's point was, and I know my point is, that is relatively unique to Trump. Hillary, I don't think, could have been talking about, you know, grabbing men by the dick or
any establishment person.
Right.
I think it's more difficult for Democratic officials just because of the angle that they're coming in from, which is like respectability and sensitivity and all this other bullshit, right? And so for them, it's off-brand. For the Republicans, I think there's a lot of other candidates who can do that. And I actually are seeing, ever since Trump came along, that there's a lot more Republican candidates who do this whole like more candid like speak or start cursing in public or on the job. And it's become more normalized. And so I would say for Republicans, that is definitely a change that's happened. It's not just a Trump thing anymore.
Well,
yeah, the only thing.
Do you disagree?
I don't know. I feel like I've said this for the past like 2 years, but I think that's the question that is on everybody's mind in U.S. politics: are U.S. politics changed forever, or are we going to go back to having some level of decorum post-Trump? I don't know if anybody knows the answer to that. There haven't really been any big Republican leaders that have been successful in the party that have emulated Trump's style. Have there been?
Oh, I feel like DeSantis emulates it often.
Has DeSantis ever engaged in like...
I feel like his hand gestures have changed. I remember watching a clip and somebody's doing like comparisons, if I remember this correctly. But DeSantis has 100% changed his way of doing stuff without doing some of the more extreme shit.
No. I'm not talking about hand gestures. I'm talking about like political nicknames for people. The like just going off on like mannerisms are just one thing. I'm talking about like the speech, the decorum. Like, would DeSantis be on Twitter tweeting out like, you know, like sleepy Joe Biden not getting anything done in Congress and then attacking all of his political rivals and everything? Like, I don't know.
He does it somewhat. So Abba's right that not only do you have some of the affectations like the hand gestures, and he does adopt some of the Trump newspeak, like he'll say shit like fake news.
Sure.
But even like the more combative memes, like he's referred to President Biden as Brandon and, you know, stuff like that. Let's go, Brandon, you know, the coded fuck you, Joe Biden. But I will say, to your point, Destiny, he's nowhere near as crass about it as Trump is. Like, Trump just, there's no filter between mouth and brain, so he says whatever stupid shit comes to mind. Whereas DeSantis, you can tell, polishes it, you know, keeps some things in reserve. So he doesn't come off nearly as crude, and he's just a much better speaker in general. But yeah, he has definitely diminished some of his civility politics compared to like 4 years ago.
I will say that I feel like also Trump has normalized being combative with the press, because nowadays I constantly see clips going viral of like politicians going at it with like press people, and it's interesting to watch because I feel like maybe that's just a personal perception thing, but I feel like that's a change that's happened where like the audience is salivating for politicians to be competitive with press people. Am I incorrect about that, or do you guys get the same impression?
Republicans definitely love it because
Yes.
in their mind, like all of the press is like corrupt and evil and maybe Jewish and
Yeah, I think I've seen like 3 clips of DeSantis just like turning the media upside down, or like just going at a reporter and like correcting them.
Is
And
DeSantis an
everybody,
election
like,
denier?
Was that?
Is DeSantis an election denier? Do you know?
Not overtly, not from what I remember. He's like paid somewhat, like he's tried to straddle that line of ambiguity. He's not the one saying that, it was stolen, there was theft involved, but he's kind of paid lip service to it at times, or like his press secretary like retweeting shit, but he's never come out and said that the election was stolen.
Gotcha.
Which was surprising because I thought he would have been. And so the other day I was having a conversation with somebody, so I went back and checked it, but no, he's stayed strategically ambiguous about the election denial.
Do you feel like Trump has changed the Republican Party forever? Maybe since I don't know if you guys can think of another Republican president that's had just as much influence on the Republican identity. Do you guys feel like there's an influence that he's really had in terms of changing it?
I mean, it seems like it, but who knows? We have to see what the next batch of presidential candidates look like. If they're all going to try to be like Trump Juniors or what.
A lot of the post-midterm discussion, like even people at Fox News were saying, the Republican Party has to evolve, but there's no way it's going back to the age of, John McCain, Mitt Romney,
President Bush.
Yeah, that they're like that era is dead and that's not coming back, and maybe it needs to move on from Trump, or evolve from Trump and take Trump's best qualities from the perspective of a Republican and refine them and make them more sophisticated. But yeah, the Dick Cheney, George W. Bush, Mitt Romney, John McCain GOP is dead.
Yeah, they've definitely lost that war. At least it seems so on the outside. What do you guys think about this new concept? It's like the New Republicans, which is what they call them. I don't know where I saw it. I think I saw this in a news article. They call them the Barstool Republicans. You guys know what that is?
I know who the Barstool Sports guy is, but
I guess it's basically this idea that Barstool's CEO and like a lot of the people who kind of think like him represent like the new wave of Republicans that are like pro-life. Sorry, they're pro-choice. But then in terms of like their financial ideas in regards to the economy, they're more so conservative. And so that's like, they're, I guess, basically socially liberal and then more so financially conservative from an economy standpoint. Conservative. Are you guys familiar with that concept or no?
no. What about you, a minute?
No, I've never heard of it. Just reading an article about it now.
Okay.
You guys were talking.
Oh, so you're Googling the answer like a fucking...
Good. Yeah, I didn't know.
I've never heard of it before. I'd only ever heard of, like you said, like the Barstool Sports like phenomenon, and I'd never heard of a Barstool Republican.
I honestly think that if they really do go through that change in the future, and it does become more mainstream in the Republican Party for folks to think like that, I could definitely see the Republican base really changing. Because I don't know, what do you guys think causes the biggest losing factor for this election cycle when it came to the Republicans?
What causes the...
Yeah, like was it the pro-choice, pro-life stance that they took, the trying to undo Roe v. Wade and that kind of like galvanized the base? What do you guys think led to them?
Probably Roe, probably pissing off the younger generation, probably the anti-democratic, semi-fascist line, and then the fact that Republicans didn't promote an actual agenda. I think it was like a combination of things.
Yeah. What's this anti-democratic line? What is that people are pissed about?
They fielded 300 election deniers, so like 300 Republican candidates denied or seriously questioned President Biden's victory in 2020 without any evidence. And many of them suggested that if they were elected, they would not certify a Democratic presidential candidate in 2024. Like some of them just flat out, the guy Mark Fincham, who was running for the Arizona State Secretary of State position, alongside Kerry Lake, who was running for governor, he flat out said that that he would not have certified Biden's win, and that a Democratic presidential candidate would never be able to win Arizona. Like, they would say shit like that out loud. So President Biden and other Democrats are saying they're being fascistic because they're not looking to, promote democracy. They're looking to weaponize it to get into power, and then they're going to fascistically stay in power as much as they can.
What about from your perspective, Destiny? What do you think caused them to take the big L with the midterms?
Jesus, there's
You're blaming Jesus? Really?
yeah. Oh my God.
What a dick.
It feels like it's hard to tell. No, I need more conservative friends. I need more conservative friends. I don't have any anymore. I feel like Trump comes off as a loser, and that like the energy and the excitement that he had before, because I feel like every single time I listen to him talk, he's just crying about the election. So like the Trump candidates were kind of like delusional and deranged. Trump himself is a little bit delusional and deranged. Like it felt like before Trump had like this "Make America Great Again" message. He wanted to move forward. He wanted to drain the swamp. He wanted to do all these things. But I think like two huge things, my feeling in the background at least, and these might be influencing other things, that one, he sucked as a leader. He really didn't get anything done. And at some point, Republican leadership has already come to terms with that, but the Republican constituents have to come to terms with that. Trump didn't get shit done in office. Number one. And then number two, he's just very uninspiring right now. Like Trump is literally like a social media president, and that's it.
Oh shit, wasn't he supposed to announce today? I forgot all about that.
I thought it was tonight, right? Am I crazy?
Okay, maybe it was later on tonight. I know it was supposed to be today. For some reason, I thought he was supposed to do it already.
But do you think he sounds like a loser? Partially because I feel like oftentimes when he felt like a winner, it's because he was constantly on television, or he was constantly on social media taking like dubs or like cultural wins. He would make like a tweet that would go viral and people would love him for it. Or he'd do an interview when he'd shut somebody up or at a rally. I feel like that's when he kind of shined. And so maybe the reason why he sounds like a loser more now is like he has less access to that, or
I mean, like I could be wrong, but it's so hard to tell. The problem is that Republicans are so stupid. It's hard to tell what they're thinking at any point in time. Like I have to start chugging cough syrup to get inside their minds to figure out like what the fuck are you possibly thinking right now. My feeling is that when Trump came into office, I had a political dude email me a long time ago. I've repeated this on stream before. I had a poli-sci guy email me a long time ago, and he said that there is a predictable trajectory that all populists take, and that Trump wasn't going to be unique to this. I think he emailed me back in 2017. He said what happens is populists are really good at getting everybody riled up about how horrible the system is. Then they're really good at getting everybody to believe in them, that they're going to make big changes to the system. And then all of them get in office and they do absolutely nothing because they're not effective leaders, because they don't engage with the system and they don't know how it works. And if I believe that, and if I look at what happened with Trump's presidency, that is the exact story of Trump's presidency. He became a leader and everything sucked. It feels like he went from a guy on the campaign trail who was like, I'm the only guy that can get this done. I can bring everybody together. I can fix corporate inversions and all these things that we all agree are problems. I can do all this, to just an infinite excuse machine. And for a little while, at least the pundits on Twitter and shit will, suck you off. Like, oh yeah, it's true. It's the whole swamp. But I mean, like when the swamp is also every single person in his cabinet, every single person he surrounds himself with, all of his personal friends, like people like Cohen and stuff. It feels like at some point it's like, okay, well, fuck. And now all he's done for the past 2 years is cry about election fraud. It's just, that's very uninspiring. That's not like the "Make America Great," we're moving forward, we're building the wall, we're locking up Hillary. It's not like the very forward momentum, like enthusiastic stuff that I was used to hearing from him. It's all just like crying about the past.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like, at least. Like I feel like even a Republican, Destiny, he had no control over the House or Senate. What are you saying? He had majorities in the House and Senate. What the fuck are you talking about?
The first 2 years.
Yeah, bro, you're fucking delusional.
Give him a ban, bro. Just ban the guy.
No, he's just delusional. But yeah, I don't know. That's the feeling. But I could be wrong. But yeah, go on.
Actually, I think that's a pretty good summary of it. I was going to say, when I heard that he was going to announce his running shortly after the midterms, I saw like every political pundit basically said, "What a genius move! If they win in the midterms the way we expect them to, and they probably will, then him setting up his campaign announcement right after such a big win just makes him sound like he's the one taking credit for everything. So on one hand, I thought like, okay, I guess I can kind of see how that's a genius political move. But then obviously the midterms didn't go to as planned, and it turned out to be a big failure, so it makes him look stupid. Yeah. Do you think he's kind of misplaying his hand to some degree, or does he just not have a good read on how much influence he has?
If I can just interject for a second, it's so funny to hear that, because when it comes to like certain right-wing daddies, particularly Trump, Musk, and Peterson, but I think Trump is the least deserving of all.
Yeah,
it's kind of like when religious people will like see the face of Jesus in bread or tea leaves, right? That just like confirmation bias determines what they see, and so anything Trump does, Trump sycophants will call an act of genius. You know what I mean? If he gave the announcement the day before the midterms, the day after, in the middle of it, if he walked onto the Fox News set and hijacked one of the cameras, it would all be an act of genius. Even now, you have some people saying, you know, this was Trump's way of like cutting out the
it's always of chaff, draining the swamp from his own right.
Yep.
People say that. Yep, they said it a lot in his own campaign when people were slowly starting to get cut out and like shit was falling apart. Like, this is good, like Trump's getting rid of all the weak blah blah blah. Trump is not politically minded. He's not politically intelligent. He very much lucked into every part of his candidacy. I said that on day one, and I stand by it now on day whatever the fuck. I don't think Trump has a mind for politics, and he's not very good, or he is good at it, but he's like a natural. He's only like he stumbled into it. None of this is planned or anything.
But you don't think that he may have people around him who are actually any good?
No. He's bad at. He's a bad leader when it comes to surrounding himself with smart people, and he's not a sycophant. Who's a guy that only surrounds himself with people that agrees with him and gets rid of everybody that disagrees with him? Whatever that is.
He wants yes men. He wants
he only wants yes men. Yeah, he is, because like, look at the election fraud stuff. Look at how many people around him, competent people around him, like, bro, this ain't it, chief. Like, this ain't it. He ignored everybody. He's not a good leader. He doesn't pick good people around him. Look at people like Cohen. Look at people like Manafort. Look at people like Giuliani, Flynn, Stone. All these people these aren't the best people. Like, and half of these guys, or most of them, are in fucking prison, right?
But
yeah, he's just
honestly, if you look at
if I'm pushing back on that,
yeah, go for it.
You say he's not a good leader because he's chosen some bad people. We can all agree it doesn't matter the cabinet, how many of them are going to jail or whatever.
Yep.
There's a strong case to be made there. But you don't think his ability to choose whoever's organizing his campaign, and the fact that he was able to come up against the Republican nominees, even when the Republican Party didn't want him there and they were kind of just forced to accept him, you don't feel as though he must have had some competence in terms of choosing the right people to get him to overcome all that?
Nope.
Because basically no? Okay, go ahead.
No, I think he lucked into all of it. He happened to be in the right place at the right time with the right kind of rhetoric, and people liked it, and that's it. But he wasn't intelligent at all with how he managed anything. That's why he was so ineffective as a leader. Like, Trump could have, and I actually got taken in by this a few times. There were a couple speeches that Trump did after losing certain states on the campaign trail where I was like, oh shit, I think Trump is actually really smart. And I think that when he gets into office, I think he's going to turn up and he's going to be like an incredibly effective leader. I thought that a couple times because he gave some really good speeches towards the end of some of the races that he lost. But he never did actually. He's just a giant fucking man-child he's just an idiot. He's just not very smart. That's the problem. Maybe he knew real estate at one point in time, maybe, I don't know. Or he had people around him that knew real estate, but he was just he had so much political capital. He had so much going for him in government, and he squandered all of it.
Tapper in your chat says, oh, shut up, Ruminate. No matter if you are Republican or Democrat, you always say your number one hitter is the greatest. Both sides do it. The problem is that the guy that they're saying is their number one hitter, like, strikes out more often than not. Like, at least with even Biden at his worst, Biden has actually a pretty formidable record, all things considered, especially when you consider the razor-thin margins he has in both chambers, right? So even though he's a gaffe machine, even though he does awkward old granddaddy things and falls off his bike, he also has, like, for every L, he has a W, and that's not the case with Trump. You know, Trump was like Destiny said, a shitty president. He had both chambers of Congress for 2 years. He failed to repeal and replace Obamacare like he swore he would. He failed to build a wall. He failed to get the infrastructure deal. All the way around, it was L after L after L after L. The only thing that he did was the 2017 tax cuts and the judge appointments, and that was all McConnell. McConnell said, "Here, sir, nominate this guy."
Yeah, and you don't get credit. You don't get credit for judge appointments. Like it's guaranteed. Well, I guess it's not because it wasn't under Obama, but like you have the Senate, like it's guaranteed, right?
Yeah, so saying it's a both sides issue. I mean, obviously both sides will try to gloss over their leaders' deficits. There's no doubt about it. But Trump, just the number of personal, intellectual, and character flaws that this man has, we've not seen his like, you know, in mainstream politics. There's not a like Nixon was a fraction of the man in terms of like corruption and incompetence. Nixon was infinitely more mainstream than Donald Trump is. So that's why it's cool to call the Republicans out on this.
Okay. So I got.
I'm sorry. That was for a guy in chat, Dabba. That wasn't me yelling at you.
Oh, so I'm fine. Don't worry. I'm not taking. I have no stakes in this. I don't live in America. I'm just watching on the outside. I'm not that invested, but I have questions. So with the, I believe he's still going to trial, right? They're still charging Trump with whatever.
I don't know if there's a trial or an indictment. Is there? It's not an indictment yet, right?
No, not yet. I mean, he's under investigation from the DOJ, and he was subpoenaed by the January 6th committee, but he's disregarded it, and now he's suing the January 6th committee, saying basically that sitting presidents and former presidents should not be compelled to testify under subpoena.
Word. That's based. If you're the Democratic Party and you have any influence over how the DOJ takes on this case, would you want them to maybe not pursue this, as it probably is bad for the Republican base if Trump is around, either running as an independent or the being nominee? Because let's say hypothetically they do pursue this and they do put him in jail, wouldn't that just mean that DeSantis, whatever his name is going to be the nominee, most likely?
I feel like the problem is, as cringe as it is, I think you have to actually think about like your principled positions at some point, where it's like, the problem is that like Trump, like flagrantly like violated the law and was given multiple opportunities to make things right, and consistently like rebuked the whatever the National Archive, whatever. Like, if somebody's going to go to those lengths to do that over and over and over again, I don't know if it's ever right to be like, maybe this guy's above the law. Like, maybe we just kind of let him go. Maybe it's not good for whatever. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like
if it guaranteed the Democrats win presidential election, would you not consider it worth it or no?
I don't think so. I think that weaponizing your investigative bodies is not good like that, I would say.
Okay. So I'll ask you this next question then. Irrespective of how you feel, like what is the right moral virtuous, given the option, and the parameters are as we stated, what do you think the Democratic leadership would do? Do you think they would look at it from your perspective, or would they think, well, we want to win? I
don't know what leadership will do, but I think at the end of the day, it's literally just Garland's decision, right? Ruminate? I think it's just whatever Merrick Garland wants to do.
Yeah. So it'll ultimately be up to him. I mean, technically, like legally, under the unitary executive theory, which basically says that the president effectively has all the powers of the sub-executives who work under him, theoretically, President Biden could order Attorney General Garland to investigate Trump or to press charges, but that would be seen as a tremendous conflict of interest and, you know, a violation of the norms. So really it is up to Garland. But I do think Garland's indicating that he will do it. And I was skeptical at first, but if you look at Garland's history, so I don't know if you guys know this, but like he prosecuted the Unabomber. He prosecuted like the Olympic, like the 1996 Olympic bombings or whatever. He was the prosecutor there too. This dude is like, somebody on Twitter called him a fart. He was like silent but deadly, because even though he's not like very, you know, bombastic or anything like that, like he quietly does his homework, and then when he prosecutes, he does so ruthlessly, and he's got a pretty formidable win-loss record. So
just to remember, isn't he the dude who Obama tried to put into the Supreme Court? And the Republicans said hell no?
Which makes it even better. Republicans, dude. Yeah. They're like, we should have put his ass on the Supreme Court.
I mean, I remember that at the time being such a big win. You know what was the funniest quotes from that time that I remember? I think it was who's the guy who looks like the guy from the Tales of the Crypt Keeper, the one who's in the Republican Party.
Is it McConnell?
Mitch McConnell?
Well, oh yeah, him. Okay, yeah, the Crypt Keeper. Because I think
that's hilarious.
I think somebody said something like, "Wait, you guys won't allow them to rush Merrick Garland in, but then you allowed Trump to do whatever he wants to rush in his Supreme Court." He's like, "Yeah, because we're trying to win." Because I think they pretty much engaged in the very same behavior that they thought was unacceptable by Obama. right?
Yeah, of
and
course.
when they asked him about it, he literally just said it. He said, "Yeah, we're trying to win." And when he said that, I'm not gonna lie, I laughed pretty hard, even though I thought it was a crazy thing to say out loud. He just said, "Yeah, it is what it is." When you, like, I don't know, it's just a weird thing to hear from an elected official.
Yeah, well, you know, they don't give a fuck. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, that's a
Hey, Dylan, are you still in here?
Yeah, I'm still in here.